I'm Cindy Williams with the Chaffee Recreation Council. Welcome to Campsite Collector Training. Campsite Collector is a powerful app that enables community members and agency staff to collect information about dispersed campsites and information about actions that you take to help maintain those campsites and the healthy natural resources we love here. The data you collect is stored by Chaffee County, and it's used to track changes over time and to identify where we have needs for action as recreation use increases. Collector data has already been instrumental in planning as we grow here and in creating projects from cleaning up sites to protecting boreal toads. The Collector app is going to work even if you don't have Wi-Fi, but you got to download it before you go when you do have coverage. You'll be collecting information about the condition of sites. Is there trash? How big's the site? Are there extra fire rings? And you'll be collecting information about any work that you do at the site. Did you clean up the trash? Thank you for helping to care for this beautiful and special place by using this app, this tool on as many sites as you can. Enjoy the training and enjoy the collecting.
So what you're looking at here is the actual Survey 123 application on my cell phone. For instructions on how to download the application and the survey itself, please refer to the training manual. There's instructions for both Apple iOS and Android-based phones. So once I have it downloaded onto my phone, I want to just click on the Survey 123 icon, and it'll bring up this screen. So you do not need an ArcGIS Online account to fill out this survey. So at the bottom, if you just press on Continue without signing in, you will bring up the Chaffee County Campsite Collector app. There's instructions in the training manual on how to actually set up the app. So you'll need to allow access to your camera on your phone and also location settings. So that is all included in the training manual. So I have everything set up. So if I click on the Chaffee County Campsite Collector icon, it'll bring up this screen. So the purpose here is that you want to collect a survey. So at the bottom of the screen, you have collect. So I'll hit on collect, and then I'll actually be directed to the survey itself. So you have some beginning questions and you'll have some choices to make as we move down the screen. So the survey data is automatically populated, so you don't have to do anything there. For username, you just want to put in your name. So I'm gonna put in mine. And one of the features of Survey 123 that can get annoying after a while is the keyboard doesn't like to go away on its own. So once you're done typing, if you just hit return, it'll actually go away. So that's just an intricacy with the software itself. And you can start scrolling through your questions. So some of these questions that have red stars next to them are actually required questions. So I'm just going to say no to this. And I'll keep scrolling down. So kind of the first interactive question is the site location. So right now it's working off my GPS on my phone. You can see my latitude and longitude. And you can also see the accuracy. So right now I'm plus or minus 6.7 meters. So if you're worried about accuracy, if you're under trees in a building, something like that, the more you're out in the open, the better your accuracy is, and also give it some time. So that number will actually start to go down. So to collect my point or where my location is, I actually can click on the map, so the larger map, and it'll bring up this map. So let me actually go to Chaffee County, and you'll see that we have Chaffee County, and all the red dots are actually previously collected campsites. So that's what all those dots represent. So that's also in, you see underneath site location, you have some identification there of where this was actually collected. So once you're happy with your point, you just click on the check mark, and that'll lock you in place. So see right now, That's where my phone is located. So as I keep scrolling down, this is the first decision that you'll have to make. So is it a new survey, a resurvey, or an action? So one thing to note here is that new survey and resurveys are actually the same questions. So nothing changes there. And then with action, if I click on action, I have these action items. So actually all these are actually available to new survey and resurvey as well. So there's a question at the end of each of the new survey and resurveys that ask you if you're going to take an action, and these will actually pop up. So it's the same in both new survey, resurvey, and action. So if I click on new survey, I'll be presented with another interactive question first. So this is the site area. So you don't need to leave the app to actually collect the area of the site. So if I click on the plus sign, it'll bring up just like the point question. I'll have this opportunity to open a larger map. I'm going to go back to Chaffee County. So you're going to actually draw a polygon that's going to calculate the area of the campsite. So if I click on the vertex button, which is to the bottom left, I have two choices here. So I can actually draw on the screen for my polygon or for my area, or I can walk around the campsite and collect it manually. So if I want to draw on the screen, I would press on the crosshair button. So the crosshair button is all the way to the bottom left. It should be blinking right now. And you have this black crosshair on your screen, and I can move the screen around with my fingers. If I want to walk the site manually, I'll actually click on the vertex button. So the vertex button will actually capture the location of where you are. So if I go back, you can see where I am. So that's where my cell phone is. And as I move that, I can actually collect points based on the location of my phone. I'm going to go back to the collecting it on the screen. I'll go back to Chaffee County. So I have this black crosshair. I'm going to add some points. So I add points by using the vertex sign that has a little plus underneath it. So when I click on that, it's going to allow me to draw a shape. And once you're happy with your shape, you can click on the vertex button with a check next to it to the far right. So that'll lock that in place. So now I have a triangle. So when I press the check mark and say okay, it's created that perimeter of my campsite. So mine's a little large. But then if I go down to the next question, it'll actually automatically fill that in. So my estimated site area for my campsite is 6,161 acres. So that's an automatic field that will be populated. For more information or some more detailed explanation on how to capture these polygons in the field, the training manual has a much more in-depth look at this process. And it'll be better outlined. It's kind of hard to do it on my screen and share it with you. So then as we continue to scroll down the survey, we have a variety of questions. So some questions will ask you to do some math. Some questions are drop down. Some questions are select all that apply. So the first question where you'll have to do some math is the trash present. So all of this is in gallons. So this is kind of up to you, and you're going to have to estimate based on kind of our values here. So we have a gallon, 8 gallons, etc. So just, as you're scanning around, kind of estimate the amount of trash that's present. This next set of questions are more kind of classified questions. So we've classified them into different categories. So we've had vegetation ground condition. We'll use this as an example. So we have these different kind of categories that we've created, and they're all defined as a hint in the question. So if you look at non-impacted, snow damage, right? So we'll just say that this site's not impacted. And as you scroll down, you'll notice that most of these do have hints underneath them. So kind of explaining what we're asking you to do in the field. Again, this is kind of the fun part of Survey 123. the keyboard will eventually get rid of itself as you scroll, or you can press the done button. So if I say this, none, and press done, it'll get rid of the keyboard. Okay, so those are our drop-down questions. And then we come to a question that is select all that apply. So if I, for example, have a site that's, has boulders as the containment, if I click on that, then I'm asked to ask what condition that containment is in. So in a containment, we're actually talking about the containment structures, not the campsite itself. If I say none, get rid of boulders, then I don't have that follow-up question. So that's a conditional question. So same thing, I guess, with our clarification for the users is that some of these terms that we use, non-system routes and social trails, we actually define them in the hints. So you can see that we have some definitions here. And same thing for non-system spur road. Now, non-system spur road is the same as the area. So if I say yes, I'll actually get a question that asks you to create another geographic or geospatial data structure. And in this case, it'll be a line. So we've done point, polygon, and now we're going to do a line. And this is an optional question, so you don't necessarily have to do it, but if you want to, it's the same process. So I have a map. If I click on the little map icon, I get a larger map. And I'm going to go to Chaffee County. Again, you get the same base map with all the previously collected sites. And this is almost the same process as creating a polygon. So I want to start by clicking on the line vertex button on the bottom left. And then I have the same options. So I can draw this on my screen, or I can walk the line itself. So right now, what's blinking is to walk the line itself and collect points based on the location of my phone. If I want to manually enter it on my screen, I would click on the crosshairs. And so it's just like the polygon. I get a crosshair on my screen. And if I click the plus without the bullseye, I'll drop a point. And then I can move this around. And if I want to connect those points again, I'll click on the plus button. And then once I'm happy with that road, I can accept it. So I click on the vertex with a check mark underneath it. And then you can edit it if you want. That's all explained in the training manual, but I'm happy with it. So I'll click on the check mark. And then that line is captured. So that's how you would capture the spur road. So then as we move down more, so we get into yes or no questions. So if I have a site that requires an action, I have the ability to say yes. And now you'll see that when I clicked on yes, I have all those action items that I clicked on earlier if I was just doing an action survey. So one of the things that, obviously some of the managers and also volunteers were really wanting to show off is before and after photographs, especially if it's a large site cleanup or something like that. So you have the ability to use your phone. So if you click on the camera icon, you'll actually be able to access your phone. So I'm actually looking at my wall. And I'll go back. So you will have to give access to your phone in the settings, and that's in that front section of the training manual. So you can take a before and then also an after photo. And so that will help us understand what kind of actions were taken. So you also have kind of the same thing. You have drop-down menus. So we have different categories that we've come up with for some of the actions. Now, one of the important things when you're taking an action is to understand that some of the actions that you might want to take out in the field require agency approval. So some of the things that you might want to go out and do, you just want to make sure that you can do it without agency approval. But some groups do have agency approval because they've gone through the process to understand what those actions require. So if you do have agency approval and you say yes, what will happen is you will actually be presented with more questions that require agency approval to undertake. And these are all on the bottom. If I press no, I don't have agency approval. These are the things, these are the actions at the campsites that can be undertaken without agency approval. So you can kind of see the difference there. So that's one thing that we just want to make sure is that people aren't taking actions that they're not approved to do. And one of the things about the action questions is a lot of them are pre-populated. So we didn't want to necessarily think that, you know, there might be a bunch of fire rings or ash piles or things like that. So all of them are pre-populated, but if you want to change the value, you would just click within that number field and you can just delete it. And so let's say the site has 500 gallons. Return. And then if I scroll eventually, so yeah, so you just click in the number field and then you can replace that value. And if I click return on my keyboard, it actually acts as a tab. So I can go down through all of these. All right. So once you have everything completed, then you're ready to submit your survey. You can add additional notes if you want. That's up to you. So if there's things that you feel like we or need to be addressed or weren't addressed in the questions, you can add those. I'm going to scroll back up here really quickly and just go through. And fill out all of these. I'm going to say no for that. So I just want to fill out everything to show you what it's going to look like, or else it'll error me out. So I'm going to say that it requires no action. Okay, so I'm ready to submit my survey. So if I click on yes, it'll ask me a couple of things. So do I want to send it now to continue with the survey or save in the outbox? I'm not going to submit it because then it'll actually submit to the system. But if you want to submit it, you would just click on the little arrow that says send now to actually submit. If you want to make some edits, you just click continue the survey. You can go back and edit it, or alternatively, you can save it to your outbox. So I'll actually save this to my outbox. And this is important because if you're offline, obviously you're not going to be able to submit it. So once you've collected something in the field, and if say you didn't have cell phone service or you weren't within service, it'll automatically save it to your outbox. So I can go back in. So this is, again, we'll start at the beginning. So one of the things to look at is I have this little number 1. That means I have one survey that has not been submitted yet. So that'll always be there when you're out in the field. So then if I go to my outbox, you notice now we have a collect and outbox option. If I go to my outbox, then that survey will actually show up. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to change the name of this. It's kind of cumbersome the way that it looks. But if I click on the send button to the bottom right, I can actually submit that survey. So that's how you would do it if you were collecting these offline. And yeah, I think that's it for the Survey 123 training. Again, a lot of these questions and details are covered in the training manual. There's also some kind of frequently asked questions or errors that people have had testing it, so how to deal with those. And thank you guys for using the app.